My name's Brock Hindmarch. I own a property with my wife and children just south of Charleville here, 20 kilometres. And yeah, Darren's asked me to tell you a few things about our experiences with carbon farming. So yeah, basically 2 years ago we bought Wallal, and when we first bought it, it had a considerable amount of regrowth on it. It was aged regrowth, so it wasn't early days. It had been pulled sort of in various states, but basically a lot of the country there was unproductive, so it wasn't producing much at all in the way of pasture, whatever. So following that, our plan was to begin pulling with dozers and seeding pasture, trying to get that production level up for our beef enterprise, I suppose. Very quickly we realised that this was going to be a long drawn out process. Along the way, obviously we had financial commitments that we had to make, annually, etc. We had the climate was against us, various other things, low cattle prices at that time. It was just going to be basically, a decade to get where we sort of thought we might even be near. So it was for these reasons we looked into carbon farming. We contacted a broker, I guess you might call them, who put us on the right track. They're here today. I won't mention their name, but if you see me afterwards, you can. I'll fill you in there. But they put us on the right track, and we went down the path of the regrowth regeneration methodology, which basically we've already spoken about it. But basically for us it meant we committed an area of land that we said we wouldn't clear. We still had the option to graze that, but yeah, we wouldn't clear that regrowth. We selected the 100-year period because basically for us, I mean there's a lot of debate between 25 and 100 and I won't push either way, but we went with that way just because whether 25 years is a long time, we really felt that this was a really good initiative. At first it was quite scary, but then when you actually got and understood where it was all coming from, it's a government run thing, it's a worldwide thing, it's it's true, it's not something that's just going to go away, so it's going to be there for 100 years for us to use as we see fit. So in doing the regrowth project, it basically involved, from our point of view, we got a lump sum payment as our first payment, so we got paid for the years since the last significant clearing event on that country. So that basically meant we got a large sum of money, or a sum of money up front, and then an annual payment after that, which is obviously a lot less, but it was still a yearly payment and quite, worthwhile. So following this was the number crunching, working out which country produced the most. Obviously, briefly they crossed CEAs before, but carbon estimation areas, so you'll have one area, might be 1,000 acres that was cleared in 2004, well, that would be one CEA. It would have a different return to a paddock that was cleared in 2008. So that would be one CEA, that would be another CEA. On your property there would be all different types of different CEAs with different returns of money. So we got all that information and said, yep, this one's in, that one's out. This is our worst country, it produces this. This is our better country, it produces that. No, we're not going to use that country in our project, we'll just stick with the rougher stuff. And to sum it up, that's probably what we did. Probably not, it's sort of not for everyone, but it would be something that you need to think about. Everyone's property's different, their situation's different, their regrowth would be different, etc. So yeah, once we worked out how much our estimated income would be off that land. The requirements to get the project registered include consent from things like your bank, which to be honest was our biggest hurdle along the way. I think it was more a timing thing. This happened 2 years ago. We sort of started all this, so it was very early days when it came to even the banks knowing about it. They didn't know what it was. We come to them with this project, telling them we're going to get all this money from it was actually that the first contract was before the government auction. It was actually a private contract with BHP and a couple other parties. But yeah, so we've taken this proposal to the bank and they've never heard of it. And we're also locking up all this country so we can't clear. So to them, they actually saw it as a bit of madness, really. They just hadn't heard of it, didn't want to know about it. So yeah, we had to go through a fairly lengthy process with them. We had to get our properties revalued, even though they'd been valued 3 months before that. We had to go back, revalue them all again with a carbon, with a potential carbon project on them, which they really thought would be negative. Now I'll say this, on our property, the valuation had no effect. The carbon, the fact that we locked up this country, got this contract, the valuers saw it as being not a negative at all. So it was basically very similar to what it was pre that. I don't know if that would work on everyone's place. Everyone's place is different, areas, country, etc. So, but yeah, once we got the valuations out of the way, and this is where our broker or facilitators were really helpful. They helped us right through the way to get it over the line. We also received a contract in last month's auction, and it's still coming. But so far, by doing this for our business, it's really given us a floor or a base to work on each year. We have, and some of the guys have already said it, we've got cattle income. We make also quite a bit of income off like feral goats. And we've also got carbon income now. Out of all of them, the carbon income is the most transparent. We're in a contract of another 5 years, I think, and another 7 years on the other one. We know what we're going to get off that land for the next few years. The others, we really don't. And up until that, I mean, it was up in the air. We had to deal with the rainfall markets, etc. This is no different, except that with a contract period, when you're in that contract period, you actually know what you're going to get, as long as you can keep producing them and you save yourself from events like this. But I also think there's certain things you can do to reduce the risks of, example, fire, etc. Really put a floor in our business. It also allowed us to plan ahead, knowing that we had that. So since then we've implemented, we've gone ahead and purchased an exclusion fence that we're going to do some better country with. So whilst we locked up the other country and we're grazing that, probably at a lesser rate than we thought we might have done if we cleared it, we've been able to afford to, build on the better country, get it producing more. It really changed the way we think about doing things, and giving us the opportunity to improve other areas a lot quicker than had we not have had that money and just set into our decade-long project. Some things to think about before going into it would be the tax implications, which I'm pretty sure we're going to cover later on. As someone already said, it's classed as non-primary production income, so obviously if you're getting a big lump sum up front, then there could be some issues there with tax, and you probably need to talk to your accountant. Your own legal advice, it's a contract, no different to buying a property or a house or anything like that. Should always get legal advice and go through a few things there. Try and focus on, when you're planning it, try and focus on your whole property and your whole your whole business rather than just the areas that you're taking in or out like that. Like what can it do for your other stuff, or what would it allow you to do to increase in other areas? Basically the biggest thing we got out of it was an income stream that's not reliant on rainfall, and in our particular rainfall belt, that seems to be the biggest issue. You know, we have good years where we do really well, and you know, we're at our fourth year of not doing so well. So to have something that's constant, something we really know, it's really changed our business.
How did you choose your carbon project development?
How did I choose my carbon development project?
Your carbon project developer, the person you were working with?
I knew of them. They weren't the only one I rang, but it was basically just because I've dealt with them before. It was more of a personal thing.
Rob, did you say you got paid for previous years since the last period?
Yeah, that's right. So under the methodology, you will get, if you locked up a particular parcel of country that was cleared in 2000, and you can prove it and go through all the other things that will certify it, you will get back paid from the carbon that since it was cleared. Yeah, that's right. So whether you own the property or you didn't own the property, doesn't matter. If you say you're making the change, you're making the decision,
Well, we had a project recently, and we found, when we looked at the contracts along the way, that yes, we were told we were backdated, but then when we looked at the last 5 years, we weren't paid at all. There was no payment in the last 5 years, so they only paid it for 2.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. You'd have to talk to your facilitator about that. We certainly did. And there'd be probably someone else in the room who probably know a bit more about it. But I think, it very much depends on everyone's different situation. I know that. Yeah.
There's another question just down here before. Do you have the option between the vegetation, the soil, carbon?
At that stage, that was early days. So we're talking a couple of years ago with our first contract, and there wasn't. I think the methodology would have been there, but basically, we didn't really know a lot about it. This one seemed just the best to apply to our particular place. Yeah.
Well, with the ongoing drought, have you been able to meet your targets?
As far as we know, yep. We chose not to do our whole place, basically because it's obviously a risk. If you enter into any contract with anyone, there's obviously an amount of risk there. So we didn't want to do a whole place. We just did a section. We left some country that we knew we might have used in drought to feed stock, etc., like that. And so far, it hasn't affected our vegetation that we've locked up at all. No.